Hey there, my friends. This is Bill MacDonald, not the Easter Bunny. Welcome to Common Sense Math, where I'm going to teach you the importance of seeing so that you can say the problem and the question along with the answer choices solo. So low that only you can hear it, but also so low as in softly when you're working with a partner or in a testing situation, or loudly when you're working in a group or the whole class. Because 90% of classrooms get rid of this green mouth where you allow the kids to just see, which means they're not hearing, and they go straight to thinking. So when you're skipping two of the senses, you're actually skipping three, because when you do not open your mouth, it means you won't be hearing or listening to anything. And that's not good, because I've said this before, but silence is deadly in a classroom of auditory learners. Every student in the entire testing system in Texas from 3rd through 10th grade is allowed to use a whisper phone, or they can open their mouth and just whisper very softly. And I already have my regular ears outside my headphones. So whenever I'm rewarding students who are great at listening, I sometimes kind of joke around and put the ears this way. Now I have ears in the front and back and ears on the side. So we'll call that surround sound stereo. Now I know that's just being silly. And if you're going to be keeping this as a prize, then have a reward for kids who actually hear you and are listening, so that when you speak things, when you speak directions or ask questions, have a reward where you reward with some sort of prize for the student, partnership, table, or group that answers your questions first. That's why it's so important to have a rule that says follow oral, comma, written, comma, and visual instructions, plural, the first time they are given, period. And the reason I'm doing all of the kinesthetic movements is some students are still going to be stubborn if you don't give a consequence for not opening their mouth. For auditory learners, then make them do it using their fingers, where they have to do something kinesthetically. So I'm going to be doing a math problem that did very poorly. But before I begin, I'm going to remind you of my rules of problem solving. Read the question, then the problem solo, softly or loudly. If you believe in reading the problem first, that's fine. Sometimes it's better to read the problem first, but sometimes, because the TEKs are based on the question and the answer choice, to be honest with you, you'll use the question or the answer choices to get data from the problem to help you solve. What's going to happen? You're going to be seeing and actually looking at the entire problem. You'll be saying the keywords, especially the ones that will help solve the problem, hearing and hopefully listening, causing something to happen in your brain, stimulus to make you think, and because of the fingers, hands, to do something, and then hopefully you'll write the right strategies and the right answer. And as you go along, you can underline to understand the keywords in the question. Look for and label with brackets the numbers and the keywords that go with those numbers. The reason I use brackets is because sometimes a number is on one row and the word that goes with it is not till the next row, at least for the ones that will help you solve the problem. Evaluate, stop to think. You see me in the corner there. I'll enlarge myself a little bit. Stop to think, evaluate, execute. Cute is capitalized because too many kids are uglying their strategies, where when they work out the problem, it's so messy that you can't even read it. So you have no idea when they make a mistake where they went wrong. So have them execute and instead of extra ugly. That way you can have another reward called cuties for all the kids who are executing. They're those little seedless oranges. They also have halos for kids who are wearing their halos instead of their horns when you are teaching, and they're hopefully learning. Eliminate your extra information, E. Then begin to eliminate and explain the wrong answers. Because you're executing the strategies, you're going to be able to figure out that there's one answer correct, or starting next year, there might be two. Select the correct answer, search for errors, and then if it's a paper test, the odds will be 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, ending with that. Always A, B, C, D. Paper test evens will be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, etc. F, G, H, J, where it's going to be a grid response like the one we're going to have on this problem. And on computerized responses, evens and odds will always be A, B, C, D. But since many of you are still testing on paper this year, help your kids remember that the word odd has one vowel, cha-ching, and 3 letters, cha-ching, and then you skip count from there, A, B, C, D. The word even has 2 vowels, E, 2, 4 letters, 4, and you skip count from there. So what I want to show you is on the opposite side of the mathematics chart, for those of you who felt like it was going to be a helpful addition, you can use a laminated version of these and make student copies. There's from the ones to the 100 billions on the whole number side, and on the fraction side you have the decimal point, the tenths, the hundredths, and in some cases either the thousandths, or for lower grades you'll talk about cents because you'll be using money, something something dollars, and something something cents, or the one we're going to use today, percent. And then you saw the rules already. And then the other cool thing that will help you is when you do my math trainings, sometimes we know the order of operations, but we don't know certain keywords that help us to know what to do, what certain things mean. And so basically this is things I might learn throughout the entire year, from kinder all the way up to 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So we're going to focus on this question here. It came from question number 29 on the 2019 6th grade test. And so this is the 6th grade math surgery. Since it's readiness for us in Texas, what that means is that they wouldn't technically learn these skills until they get to 6th grade. But I do believe that you would multiply a 3-digit number by a 2-digit number in 5th grade. You can correct me if I'm wrong, which means if you teach 7th grade, it would be a supporting standard that would be very important for you to teach your kids when it talks about percentages, because only 30% of the kids in Texas got it correct. This would mean that out of the 350,000 6th graders that took this test, only 30% of those 350,000 did really well. So that means like basically only about 100,000 kids in Texas out of the 350,000 kids knew how to take a number and change a percent to a decimal or to a fraction so that you could multiply. All right. So we'll read, underline, and label. Every day, that means 7 days a week, 84% per cien per 100 of means times in math, the customers, 80%, 84 out of every 100 times whatever many total customers they are, use their phones while waiting for their flight at gate 7. Okay, that's not true. I'm just making it up. I just needed something to work that was similar to the problem that the kids had from Student Expectation 6.5b. If you look it up in the 6th grade Texas test, it would be number 29. So if you're outside of Texas, you can use the actual release test from STAR to practice this skill, or you could order the 2019 6th grade surgery on my website. So the question said, how many of these of means time 750 customers use their phones while waiting for their flights? All right. So my information that I need is I'm going to make a little bracket. 84% means 84%, 84 out of every 100 of the customers use their phones. So 84% of 750. So how many of those 750 use their phones? So let's take a look first at what they told us. 84%. There's my number, tens and ones, and there's my keyword percent of means times 750. 750, what was the word that they were saying? 750 customers. So again, if this is laminated, you wouldn't have to be printing over and over like I am doing to help you solve the problem. So one way to do it, because I just finished telling you that 84% means 84 about every 100. So one way that you could do this, if you teach 8th grade or higher in Texas, you're allowed to use the calculator. So your kid could automatically meaning times 750 times 84, come up with your product times multiply, and then divide that number by 100, and you would get 630 customers. Okay, another way to do that, if you flip over to this opposite side here and say 84%, there's 84% in words, 84% with the little zeros and the hashtag. And so if they say percent, so what I would do, since it's 84%, I would say 84 per cien is where the decimal would move over 2 spots. And what you'd say now is it would be basically 0 and 0, 0 and 84 is my number. And then you look at its address where it's parked, hundreds, 84 hundredths. So then you can come back over here because you've already moved the decimal. 84%, we basically went from the fraction 84 hundredths. 84 hundredths is the same thing as 84% because it's per 100. Then we can do it the regular way, where if you're not eighth grade or higher in Texas, then you can just work it out and say, okay, because you could technically work that out, but that would take a little bit longer than you would want to. 750 times 84 hundredths, the decimal 2 places over. So then we always start, and I have a very light X there. You start with the ones place, and if your kids struggle with 2-digit multiplication, assign this one color, we'll say blue, and we'll assign this a different color, we'll say red. And so all of the products with the 4 could be blue, and then all of the products with the 8 can be red. And that way they can tell, oh, this is the ones that go with the 4 in the ones place, and all this goes with the 8 in the tens place. Okay, and technically it would be in the hundredths place and the tenths place. So that's why when we're done, we have to move the decimal over 1-2 spots. So let's go ahead and do the multiplication. So we can see that whether you use a calculator, eighth grade or higher, or if we work it out pencil and paper, 4 times 0, 0. 4 times 5 is 20, carry the 2. 4 times 7 is 28, plus the 2 that you carried is 30. Then you can play what I call tic-tac-toe. Tick, cross off the one you're no longer using. Tack, put a 0, and toe, cross off the carry that you already used. Then you have the tenths place, or for now it would be the tens place. 8 times 0, because you're starting in the tens, put tenths place. We're going to put it here in this spot. 8 times 0 is 0. Come back down. 8 times 5 is 40. Carry the 4. 8 times, come back down. 8 times 7 is 56. Plus the 4 that you carried would be 60. And then you add between the lines 0, 0, 0, 3, 6. And because this is really 84 hundredths, not 84, you would have to move it per cien. We'd have to move it 2 places, 1, 2. And so whether you do it with a calculator or work it out with paper and pencil, the answer is 630 customers would be using their cell phone. And so the final answer, because some of your kids probably put this answer, they might have put 63,000 because they weren't thinking about the decimal. They have to realize that their final answer when they're bubbling in their Scantron is 6 in the hundreds, 3 in the tens, 0 in the ones, and then they would bubble that into the grid response. And if they want to, they can put and 0 tenths, or they could just stop right there and they would be done. But as you can tell, because it was a grid response, the kids had no idea. They couldn't check their work the regular way because of the answer choices that are not there. So I checked it by doing the times 84 divided by 100. So I read the problem in the question. I've underlined the problem in the question. I've labeled how many of these 750 customers, how many is a number. We've executed our strategies, we've evaluated, we have nothing to eliminate. So we evaluated, we executed our plan. So we would select our answer in the grid response, and we'd make sure that we'd bubble it if they ask us to on the filling in of the circles. So the answer was 630 of the customers were using their phones at gate 7. And so if I asked you an extra question, sometimes an E can be extend beyond the problem. How many of the customers were not using their phones while they were waiting for their flight? Well, that would be difference. You subtract 750 minus 630 would be the difference. You subtract 630, that would be 120 customers were not using their phones while waiting for their flights. So probably those people, if I was to infer, they're not going to miss their flight. So because they'll be paying attention to the intercoms and they'll be watching the screens. And so that's why I think that looking and listening is so important. But just as important, as soon as my brain says 84%, I want my brain to also say 84%, 84 out of 100, 84 hundredths, and then remember percent to move it backwards, 84 hundredths, that they need to quickly be able to interchange percent to fractions back and forth between fractions, decimals, and percent. They need to be able to go quickly back and forth between those so they won't struggle with questions like this one. So if you are part of those 70% of kids in secondary, 6th grade, 7th grade, maybe some 8th graders that are struggling with this kind of concept, then go ahead and try setting up, if you take long enough to watch till the end of this video, all you have to do is message me because you watched the whole thing, and I will send you a free copy of my mathematics chart. Thank you so much for watching it, and have a blessed spring break with friends and family. If you just scroll down my page a little bit, you'll see order of operations. I just did this one earlier today with PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, and add and subtract based on the colors of priority, red first, then yellow, then green, to figure out how to determine which one of these is the same expression as which one of these, I'm sorry, is the same expression as this one here that was written in the first place. So don't forget, if you message me, I will send you the mathematics chart for free, just for taking the time to watch the video today. If you email me at the word writing, the subject, _ doctor spelled out at yahoo.com, I'd love to set up a math training with you and your students, with teachers. The thing I like about working with students is that you don't have to get a substitute, that you maybe set up a day where I work with the teachers. A lot of the trainings that I'm doing this year, I'm working with the teachers for one day, and then we have a day where the teachers just observe, and then we spend a couple of hours with each group. The younger the kids, the longer I can work with them, but I recommend just like 2 or 3 hours for elementary students for each group, and only about 1 to 45 minutes to an hour and a half for each secondary group, 7th grade, 6th grade and higher. So, and we offer trainings in both reading, writing, and math. Anybody who books a training between now and the end of school, we'll get to lock in this year's prices. But once June hits and you're booking for the summer, starting June or later, it'll be a different price. It'll be about $250 more a day. So I highly suggest, if you're still watching this, email me at that writing_doctor@yahoo.com for my flyer. And I'd be happy to send you the training information for working with just teachers during the summer. And we'll be applying the transition to the constructed type math responses. In my reading trainings, I'll also be working with science and social studies teachers, as well as math teachers, on how to do the constructed type responses, because it's not just going to be writing anymore. Everybody's going to have to do their part and have a little bit of writing of 1 and 2 point questions, where only the reading teachers are going to have those 10-point questions that the kids can get 5 points for development, organization, and conventions from each of 2 different graders. So thanks so much for taking time out of your spring break to watch this video. Hope you enjoyed it and got a few strategies that you can use. Please share or tag your math teacher friends.